I highly doubt that most people care about this, but since there's misinformation going around about it, let me explain what happened. This is the headline from the New York Times yesterday after the DNC meeting, which states DNC takes steps to void election of Hogg and Kenyatta as vice chair. So let's talk about the backstory and what this all means. Back in February, there was an election to select new DNC officers, including vice chairs. So Raina Walters Morgan, she won the vice chair for civic engagement and voter participation. She obviously is a woman, and she won that fair and square on a separate line on a separate ballot. Then there was the vote for 3 officers to be picked as vice chairs. And that was where it got all confusing. So the first ballot that they did, no one got the threshold needed to be able to be voted in. So a bunch of candidates started dropping out. And then there was a second ballot. On that second ballot, Artie Blanco won fair and square. What happened was on the third ballot, there were 5 candidates now. 2 were male, 3 were female. And the rules were that you had to pick 1 male and you had to pick 1 of any gender. Therefore, what happened was that people selected Malcolm Kenyatta and they also selected David Hogg. But this disadvantaged the 3 women because there wasn't a specific line for the other gender. So people were just picking and they were the 2 top vote getters. So it went to a hearing yesterday. They discussed what was happening at the DNC and they agreed that because of the rules and the way that the ballot was supposed to be set up, that it disadvantaged Kaylin Free, who was the person who put in the challenge, who was one of the candidates, and they suggested that there should be a resolution so that there can be a new vote. Now, neither David Hogg, who is the DNC vice chair now, or Malcolm Kenyatta, who's also the chair, are not going to leave their seats. They are going to stay in their seats until there is a new vote. There's going to be new members that are going to vote for this, and they're going to decide who the vice chair should be. But this time they're going to put on one line the 2 males, and then there's going to be another ballot that has the remaining candidates on there. So the 3 women and the 2 men. And this is how it's going to proceed. This is not something that is against David Hogg. This challenge was put in February. This is before David Hogg started his nonsense, going on TV, talking about he's going to challenge people, and people are conflating the 2 issues. Of course, David Hogg, in all his entitlement and privilege, says, "Today, the DNC took its first steps to remove me from my position as vice chair at large. While this vote was based on how the DNC conducted its officers' elections, which I had nothing to do with, it is also impossible to ignore the broader context of my work to reform the party, which loom large over this vote." Because it's all about him, even though Malcolm Kenyatta is impacted as well. And the 3 women. "Our country is in crisis, and too many leaders in the Democratic Party are asleep at the wheel." He decides to attack the Democrats. "Trump is on a mission to crash our economy, disappear people without due process, and participate in flagrant public corruption, and voters still trust him more than Democrats. This is a massive indictment on our party." So you're going to attack the party. Great job, David Hogg. "I ran to be DNC vice chair to help make the Democratic Party better." All about him. "Not to defend an indefensible status quo that has caused voters in almost every demographic group to move away from us. And what are you doing to bring them back? Just running your mouth on TV? That's not going to help." My issue with this whole thing is that you literally just attack the people that you work for. How is that going to help you to get reelected into the seats come August when they have the vote? Also, if you don't like the job, if you don't like the way you're being treated, you can quit. You already said you don't get paid from this. You get paid from your PAC. You're on salary. You can go do that, go primary and support whoever you want to in elections, and you can do you. But to complain and sit here and bitch about what the DNC has done to try to be fair to women, apparently you don't think women deserve fairness. And so you're now mad and doing all of this extra stuff. But we see you, David. And it's time for you to decide what you want to do. Do you want to stay at the DNC and actually do the work, or do you want to just pretend to do the work and go on the media all day, every day, and raise money for your PAC?